Good afternoon. My name is Chris Rowsom, and I'm Executive Director of Historic Ships in Baltimore. In a normal year, we'd be gathering on the fantail of U.S. Coast Guard cutter WHEC 37, Queen of the Pacific, the last warship still afloat to witness the attack on Pearl Harbor, for a remembrance of that day, 7 December 1941, the day that will live in infamy. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we're not able to have a live event on the ship, so we've prepared this virtual Pearl Harbor Remembrance, featuring moments from past ceremonies, along with a virtual tour to help provide some context. 2020 has been a challenging year for all of us. A pandemic and the global efforts to thwart racial injustice. This is not a fundraising event, but we hope you will consider supporting the preservation of CGC 37 and the other ships in the historic ships fleet, USS Constellation, USS Torsk, Lightship Chesapeake, as well as the 7-foot Knoll Lighthouse. We're looking forward to reopening the ships in the spring to welcome visitors and students on board, to learn their histories and appreciate the service and sacrifice of those who sailed aboard. Most importantly, we look forward to the time when we can once again gather in person for this event, so that we do not forget the lessons of the past. We hope you enjoy our presentation. Until we are able to gather again in person, stay safe and enjoy a wonderful holiday season.
Hello, and welcome to Pier 5 in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. My name is Brian Auer with Historic Ships in Baltimore, and today marks the 79th anniversary of the day which will live in infamy, when the Imperial Japanese Navy launched a surprise attack on the U.S. Naval Base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, bringing a shocked nation to the realization that they were at war. While there are many commemorations of this event around the nation today, many people don't realize that here in Baltimore, we're home to the ship that I'm standing on, the Coast Guard cutter WHEC 37, which is the last remaining fighting ship that saw action during that attack. Coast Guard cutter WHEC 37 was originally commissioned as USCGC Taney in 1936, and she was home ported in Honolulu, Hawaii. In July of 1941, she was transferred to Navy Control, painted gray, and then remained on station in Honolulu. It was from her berth in Honolulu that she would participate in the defense of the naval station at Pearl Harbor. I'm standing in the bridge, which is the command center of the ship, and today, if you look around, you can see that the bridge has a similar layout to her 1941 arrangement, although there's some more equipment and other things that were done in upgrades over her career. And importantly, there was no radar on the ship in 1941. From here, the captain could take charge and command the ship. Commander Lewis Olson commanded Taney during the attack, and it's from his report that we know about the ship's actions and her role in the defense. Around 7:55 in the morning, the attack began. From Cutter 37, anti-aircraft fire was spotted in Pearl Harbor 8 miles away, so the captain ordered general quarters and sent word for all personnel to return to the ship. The ship maintained her station at Pier 6, which was right next to the power plant for the naval station, while the rest of the Pacific Fleet was ordered to try to get underway and form up with the USS Minneapolis and to go hunting for the Japanese carriers. Taney wasn't under the Pacific Fleet Command, so the order didn't really apply to her. So she stayed put next to the power station. Without orders, the ship spent the next few hours firing on unidentified aircraft that were straying into her vicinity while making preparations to get underway. Around noon, 5 unidentified planes approached flying low. Commander Olson believed that these planes were either attacking the vessel itself or they were attacking the power station, which was right next to us. Cutter 37 responded by firing all of her 3-inch guns and all but the forward 50 cals. Hits were observed to be scored by the 50 cals, and the attackers were within a mile of the ship. So the planes did not press the attack in the face of the ship's firepower, and they withdrew from the area. While not a major role in the attack on Pearl Harbor, Cutter 37 is significant as the last survivor of the attack on Pearl Harbor. She also served for the remainder of World War II, honorably taking on various roles and actions throughout the conflict. Historic Ships in Baltimore takes on the enormous task to maintain and preserve this ship. And we hope that when we reopen, you'll stop by to take the full tour. Thank you for watching the tour portion of this video, and we hope to see you when we reopen.
Would you please rise for the presentation of colors? Color guard, advance the colors. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to lead us in the singing of the national anthem, as he has done so many times before and so beautifully, the distinguished Baltimore baritone, Mr. Joe DeCaro.
Let's not make this a solo. Let us make everyone sing together. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Carry.
Color guard, post the colors.
Hi, everybody. Before I begin, a special recognition to our active duty forces and also to all of you veterans today on this very special day in terms of commemoration to this country. Thank you very much for inviting me and, most importantly, the National Park Service to join you on this day on board a ship that witnessed and survived the attack on Pearl Harbor. Our history books mention the Taney, but standing aboard a vessel brings that history alive. So maybe you could close your eyes for a minute and just imagine the sights, sounds, and feelings that the brave sailors aboard the Taney experienced 76 years ago today as they returned fire from 353 Japanese aircraft engaged in the attack. Standing on a place where history happened can have an impact on you.
But it was 77 years ago, on a day which began as a normal morning that turned into a day that would change our nation and the world forever. That devastating attack turned a nation of peace into a nation at war. More than 2,400 Americans lost their lives and another 1,000 were wounded in that attack. Today as a nation, we again mark this solemn anniversary, and together we reflect on the important turning point in the history of our nation. At the same time, we're also reminded of the immense sacrifice by all those who've chosen to serve in our armed forces. There can't possibly be adequate words to express our sincere gratitude and respect and appreciation for those men and women who are in uniform and who have served our great country. In spite of all the things that have sought to divide us in this country, we're brought together by the tremendous respect we hold and the incredible debt that we owe to all of those who have worn the flag on their arm and who have been willing to lay down their lives to protect the rights and freedoms that we hold so dear. These courageous heroes have given more than most of us can imagine, but they are a constant and daily reminder of the immeasurable cost of war and the immense price of freedom. So today, on this 77th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and every day after, we shall always remember and honor those men and women in uniform, those who came before us and those who are currently serving. May we never forget their service and their sacrifice.
So this is the city where Francis Scott Key, inspired by the sight of our defiantly waving flag, penned the national anthem in 1814, watching the British bomb Fort McHenry. And just like the flag flying over the fort on that historic day, this ship is much more than she appears. Taney's part of our Coast Guard history, part of our American history. Her decks hold stories of courage, dedication, and perseverance. Today's December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day as we know it, a day that shall live in infamy, serves as a solemn reminder of the ultimate sacrifice American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners have made to defend our nation, protect its citizens, protect those freedoms we hold so dearly. Although Taney's the last surviving warship afloat from the attack on Pearl Harbor, I've got to say, she looks fantastic. So squared away, we could put her back in service. And that may be tempting to the Congress, but don't take that and carry that as an idea. The folks of the historic ships of Baltimore are doing just a tremendous job, and my hat is off to you. This is a proud ship, and maintaining it in her current state really says a lot about us holding on to our history as a nation. Not just on special occasions like today, but people come here all the time. I took my young son up to the Coast Guard Academy about a year ago in June, and on our way up, we stopped here in Baltimore, and we toured the Taney. It was just sort of historically significant. I served on the Taney for 5 weeks in the summer of 1980, and it's just a piece of history that kind of pulls forward in our family. But it's important. It's important it's here on the waterfront. This was one of 7 Treasury-class cutters. Taney was decommissioned 32 years ago today. She served her nation for half a century. And that's just a little bit of a testimony, I think, to the value the Coast Guard derives from the assets that the congressmen and the administration provide us. But it's an honor to be standing here on the decks on this 77th anniversary. We really bear witness and hear about the hardships that were faced by the men that served back in the day. Campaigns such as Pearl Harbor, where 2,400 were lost. Okinawa in 1945, the largest amphibious assault in the Pacific. Some 1,500 kamikaze aircraft attacked the U.S. fleet. Taney shot down planes, and then Taney conducted escort duty across the Atlantic, which was rife with German submarines patrolling the waters. The names and places are well known in our nation's history because of the heroism, courage, devotion, and perseverance of men just like Harry. Those are the places where our greatest generation earned that title, greatest generation. You should be rightfully proud of this ship, Harry, and all others who served aboard her. This ship also went on to serve in the Korean and Vietnam Wars, so she has a storied history. Most famously, the ship we stand on today, though commemorating Pearl Harbor, was there at Pier 6 in Honolulu Harbor, about 3 miles east of the entrance. What started as a peaceful morning, as we heard mentioned earlier, ended as some of the most tragic days in American history. One of the most tragic days. Despite our heavy losses, though, it was a day where common folks performed extraordinary things. Ronald Reagan once said, "The willingness of some to give their lives so others might live never fails to evoke in us a sense of wonder and mystery." When Taney's skipper at the time, Commander Lewis Olson, and his crew awoke that fateful morning, They heard, and I quote, "Air raid, Pearl Harbor, this is no drill." It echoed on board. They saw anti-aircraft fire coming from Pearl, and they felt the planes flying overhead as the decks rumbled. During the attack, 180 Japanese planes swarmed, dropping torpedoes and bombs on Pearl Harbor, Honolulu Harbor, Hickam Field, and the industrial facilities that surrounded Taney's moorings. The surprise attack sunk or damaged 21 ships, destroyed 188 American aircraft, and most tragically killed 2,403 people and injured another 1,178 Americans. Without waiting to receive orders, demonstrating the bias for action that still defines the men and women of the Coast Guard and the on-scene initiative, Taney set general quarters and engaged the enemy aircraft. With their 3-inch guns ablazing as buildings, marine terminals, and ships exploded around them. Taney's crew fought valiantly and was credited with sailing the Honolulu power plant that day. Those aboard were the first Coast Guard men to enter combat operations in the Second World War, a war that would claim dozens of Coast Guard ships and hundreds of Coast Guardsmen's lives. Taney's aviation officer, Lieutenant Frank Erickson, was a duty officer at nearby Ford Island when the first Japanese planes arrived. From that vantage point, he had a 360-degree of the attack unfolding before him. His lasting memory was watching a long line of oil-soaked men, many wounded, being helped and enabled by their shipmates to come ashore. A vision that would later lead him to team up with Igor Sikorsky to develop a helicopter capability for the United States Coast Guard. And then he went on, Frank Erickson, to be our first rotary wing pilot, our first helicopter pilot. On that Sunday morning, no one expected to fight, but Coast Guardsmen, alongside their Navy and Army brethren, stood tall. They stood tall in defiance of overwhelming odds. Like their predecessors at Fort McHenry, they suffered greatly, but their spirit never wavered. Taney would go on to serve in distinction throughout the Second World War. More than a Coast Guard cutter, the Taney is a reminder of past sacrifices and promises for a better tomorrow. But you know, Taney is truly, truly historic. Truly historic. On that day, and today, looking back 77 years ago, it really is absolutely essential as a nation that we do pause and we think about those fateful attacks. But it's the aftermath of the attack on Pearl Harbor that really resonates and tells us what we as a nation stand for, what we can accomplish. Together, we are stronger. Together, we can overcome impossible odds. Museum ships like this help us remember that history. Many of our country have lost a personal connection to the military. Many do not know any service members. Many don't understand the challenges our veterans face, nor understood what it could possibly be like to be standing on these decks, seeing bombs and bullets flashing around you, or what it was like to land on a beach under fire, or jump out of a plane behind enemy lines, or spend months, if not years, away from loved ones and family. So if you look back at the end of the Second World War, we were a nation of 130 million people, with 16 million people in uniform. Today, as a nation of 300 million, we have about 2 million or so in uniform. Proportionally, that was 12% back in the war era. It's about 2/3 of 1% today. So it really is important that we connect this nation's history to the men and women of modern society. So events like this are all about remembering. They're patriotic celebrations that symbolize the ties that bind us to the citizens who serve in uniform. We affirm their support for what they do for our United States Armed Forces. While Taney has come to rest permanently alongside this facility, the legacy of the crew, that crew's fighting spirit, their tenacity, their decisive action displayed 77 years ago, along with all their shipmates in Hawaii, lives on. Our Coast Guard men and women serving today have been entrusted with this legacy of courage and self-sacrifice. It is, in fact, handed down one generation to the next. From the sailors on board Taney to the newest boot camp graduates at our training facility in Cape May, this legacy continues to inspire us even 77 years later. We serve in harm's way on the very shoulders of those who answered the call on these very decks. So for all veterans who served at Pearl Harbor in every battle since, you deserve our gratitude, our respect, and our remembrance. Thank you for your service. It is for all that you do and have done that allows us to stand here today.
On December 7, 1941, 2,403 people were killed and 1,178 wounded at Pearl Harbor, most within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the attack, to include 103 civilians who were also killed or wounded. The St. Andrews Society of Baltimore. Remember Pearl Harbor. Carry colors. Riflemen, 48 Star Flag Post. May I introduce to you Corporal Robert Kennick, U.S. Marine Corps, retired, age 94 years old and a World War II veteran, will execute the British Rest on Arms reverse to honor the fallen. Rifleman Kennick, Rest on Arms reverse. The toll of the ship's bell reminds us of the reverence we owe to our departed comrades in arms and to those who guard the honor of our country. Upon the sea, under the sea, in the air, on land and upon foreign soil. Let it be a reminder of the faith they confide in us. Let us who gather here not forget our obligations, and in silence breathe a prayer for our absent comrades. By this moment of reverence, we dedicate it to the memory of those comrades who gave so much on board the battleship USS Arizona, battleship USS Oklahoma, battleship USS West Virginia, battleship USS California, battleship USS Nevada, battleship USS Pennsylvania, battleship USS Tennessee, and battleship USS Maryland. Included target ship Utah, light cruiser Helena, seaplane tender Curtis. Ground facilities that were attacked include Ford Island Naval Air Station, Wheeler Field, Hickam Field, Barbers Point, Kaneohe, Bellows Field. Other ships that engaged to defend and return fire or sustain damage in the attack are USS Neosha, Minesweeper Condor, Minelayer Agala, Repair Ship Vesta, Harbor Tug Sotoyomo, Destroyer USS Ward, Destroyer USS Monahan, Destroyer USS Helm, Destroyer USS Alwyn, Destroyer USS Cassin, Destroyer USS Downs, Destroyer USS Shaw, Cruiser USS St. Louis, Cruiser USS Raleigh, Cruiser USS Honolulu, and this ship we sit on today, USS Coast Guard Cutter Taney. There is a poem, The Fallen, written by Lawrence Binion, and it goes, "They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them." Riflemen, flag rank, return to ranks. St. Andrew's Society, order, colors. Parade, rest.
Eternal Father, Lord of hosts, watch o'er the men who guard our coasts. Protect them from the raging seas, and give them light and life and peace. Grant them from thy great throne above the shield and shelter of thy love.
Ladies and gentlemen, please face forward. Color guard. Retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Pearl Harbor Day is always a special time on the Taney and at the Inner Harbor of Baltimore. We remember. You now have more reason to remember. Pass the word. Tell people about this event, about this day. Mostly, tell them why it's important that we remember Pearl Harbor. Thank you and good day.